It seems like life after being freed from prison by former President Obama isn't treating the transgender ungrateful traitor too bad. Bradley Manning, now known as Chelsea Manning, just got hooked up with a photoshoot modeling job posing in a swimsuit for Vogue. Manning posed in a scarlet red bathing suit for the magazine which accompanied the interview with Vogue. Manning, 29, was interviewed by Vogue's writer, Nathan Heller, and they talked about Manning's time in Leavenworth prison before being freed by Obama. We learned that Manning attempted suicide twice, but it doesn't seem like that or President Trump come up in the interview. They seemed to have spent more time diving into Manning's attraction for men and how he doesn't plan on being single. Essentially, Manning is a gay man who dresses like a woman. The disturbing interview discusses how Manning survived by avoiding television and spent spare time reading various books and random science magazines. Daily Mail reports that the interview didn't mention anything about President Trump, former President Obama, or even touch on the two attempted suicides. That's unfortunate news for the many Americans who claim Manning is the transgender traitor who turned his back on America, landed in prison, then had his sentence shortened by Obama. The interview talks about how Manning constantly paid attention to fashion through magazines and that he felt like he missed 7 years of fashion while jailed. Manning now posts pictures of himself in women's designer clothes on social media. Manning was imprisoned for several years, but detained about 3.5 years before that, because he leaked thousands of classified files, essentially turning his back on America and looking the other way. The files were sent to WikiLeaks while Manning worked for the Army as an intelligence specialist. This was in 2009 and Manning was in Iraq at the time. He was supposed to spend up to 35 years in the slammer, but Obama released him early before Obama's second term as President of the United States came to a close. Manning spent 7 years at Fort Leavenworth Prison in Kansas for leaking almost 1 million classified files to WikiLeaks while she was working as an Army intelligence specialist in Iraq in 2009. She was due to spend a total of 35 years behind bars but had her sentence suddenly and dramatically commuted by President Obama in January. While behind bars, she kept up with fashion through magazines and avoided television, instead devouring books and science periodicals. The New York City resident who used to live in Maryland reportedly grew up very confused and maybe he didn't have the appropriate support from his parents. We can't comment on that more because we don't know what Manning's parents or home life was like as a child. Desperate to learn more about herself and establish her identity, she enrolled in the military in the hope it would force order on her confusion and was later posted to Iraq. The interview with Vogue momentarily touched on the WikiLeaks incident and Manning has accepted responsibility for his actions, but that doesn't mean all Americans have accepted the behavior. Many Americans may feel betrayed by Manning, many might feel conflicted, and many may not even care one way or the other. In a brief and vague acknowledgement of leaking the classified files to WikiLeaks, she said, "I've accepted responsibility for my own decisions and my own actions." She also recalled trying to give them to mainstream media publications including The Washington Post and The New York Times before handing them over to Julian Assange's website, but said no one would listen. She maintained that there are still not safe channels for whistleblowers to raise the alarm if they are concerned with government activity, explaining, "We need to have more ways to talk about what's going on in government. I don't know what's right. I have certain values. I live by those. Perhaps the biggest concern isn't the whistleblowing, but the thought that one person could gain access to that many thousands of files and easily pass them on to others. If these files are deemed classified, then how did Manning access them? Did America gain anything by having the files released to WikiLeaks? If so, then what was it? Manning claims to have certain values, but so does everyone. If Manning blew the cover off something insane, then would Americans support this, or do Americans not support him because he is a transgender? If Manning wasn't transgender, then what would the general opinion be? Would he be an exiled here, a whistleblower, or just another traitor? Would Obama have commuted Manning's sentence if he wasn't a transgender? Manning currently struggles with social media upkeep, but seems to have figured out Instagram. She is struggling to keep up with social media, which was in its infancy when she was jailed, but has enjoyed sharing photographs of her new life with fans on Instagram. "Before I was in prison, I was one of the only people on social media. I was a novelty." That sounds incorrect. MySpace came out in 2003 and that was social media. He wasn't one of the only people on social media, nor a novelty of it. However, he certainly is a disturbed novelty.